his daughter was struggling in school, as were her classmates. And so he worked with her 8th grade teacher to look at math in a new way. Not the traditional model, but something that used math as a tool to solving real-world problems and really focusing on experiential mathematics. So we do follow Common Core guidelines, but we are a consortium and portfolio school, so we're free of the stressors of the Regents exam, which gives us some flexibility to really delve into topics without worrying about that timeline that the state usually puts on our schools. All of our units end with a big project, and they are always hands-on and real-world related. And so for this project this year, which is called Funk-tions and road coloring, which Kelly is going to talk more about, we collaborated with Beam Center, which Matt will talk more about too, to develop a function visualizer, which is over there, and students were able to actually build that and look at functions in a new and different way than they'd ever looked at it before.
So as Danielle said, we kind of take a little bit of a different approach to, sorry about that, a little bit of a different approach to the math curriculum. So if you remember back in your high school days learning about functions and what makes a function or a relation, a lot of it's just memorization of different things. In the Algebra Project, we try and create some kind of a meaningful experience that the kids can relate to. So to start our unit on functions called road coloring, we have the students build cities. But what do you need for cities? You need buildings, you need roads. And in this city, there's certain rules. There have to be a certain number of roads leaving from each building, and they're colored in different ways. So the kids start off kind of just thinking about something familiar to them, like a city. And it turns into diagrams like this. So the rule is you have to have exactly one blue road, exactly one red road leaving from each building. The buildings are the numbers, and the arrows represent the roads. They pretty quickly get the hang of this. And the cool thing is that immediately turns into kind of more traditional, conventional math topics. So taking one of those apart, just looking at the red arrows, turns really quickly into an arrow diagram. So they can kind of get the concept of functions. That turns into ordered pairs. That then turns into, again, what we'd typically be saying, this is a function. We use the vertical line test to decide if it's a function or not, but they have a much deeper understanding of why these conventions exist. Sorry, going very quickly to try and fit within the time. And we found that through this use of kind of real experiences, instead of just having to memorize the process, they have a much deeper understanding and are able to apply that not only this year, but as they move into the higher grade levels at our school. So again, like I said, we start with a representation that kind of just means something to them and slowly kind of build up to the more traditional version of functions. So during this unit, we also move into function notation, into the calculation aspect of functions. So we basically looked at this and said, hey, how can we work with Beam Center? How can we build in some 21st century skills into this curriculum? We really want our students to have personal mindset, social awareness, be able to collaborate with one another, and all these skills they're going to need to move into their college and careers. And along with Beam Center, we're able to create a really amazing project that you see back there that Matt's going to tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so before I jump into that specific project, I'll give you a little bit of context for our organization, a little bit of background. So we started as a summer camp up in New Hampshire about 12 years ago, and we were founded on sort of a simple desire to get a bunch of kids together, work collaboratively, and build large-scale, spectacular projects. We have a picture of one of these right here. We do 2 sessions during the summer, and 3.5 weeks long. This is a project from last year's session. Can we kill the lights? Could we turn those down? Might be a little bit easier to see. Thank you. This is a 16-foot tall, 45-foot long water slide that our campers built together along with our staff up at camp. So 4 years ago, we got ourselves to the point where we were ready to start working a little bit more in the city, and started running after-school programs for second through like sixth graders to start with, and we've expanded that to do more middle school now, and also started partnering with schools, so offering internship and apprenticeship opportunities for older teenagers, and then also trying to focus on in-class collaborations with teachers, and that's what this project really has fit into. So I think maybe the biggest thing that we're doing with our in-class collaborations with teachers is trying to support the work that they're doing in the classroom already by providing a little bit more context and motivation and some different inroads into the curriculum that they're working with. Is that fair to say? And let's see, thanks. This doesn't seem good. So let's see, for this project, two of our instructors, Tim and Brett, sat down with the math and science team at Fannie Hamer and started looking through the curriculum that they were going to be working with, the Funk-tions curriculum, so it's road coloring curriculum. And our instructors, I should tell you, come out of mainly the trades and different creative disciplines. So we have expert woodworkers, metalworkers, fabricators, digital fabricators, coders, electrical engineers, ceramicists, theatrical set designers, etc. They're folks who have a pretty good deal of professional experience in a particular discipline and in general do not have a lot of teaching experience. They are not licensed teachers. They often come to us not having worked with young people before. So we pair them up with teachers and kind of get them to develop projects together. So that brings us to this one. Tim and Brett looked at this curriculum and spent a few weeks kind of tossing around a few different ideas and eventually landed on a functions visualizer. What this really amounts to is a large-scale graphing calculator, if you guys are familiar with a TI-82 or one of those. It's sort of a bigger, buggier, and slightly more fun animated TI-82. So that's what you see over here. And if we can maybe move to the next one. So the idea was that this functions visualizer would be the centerpiece for a game that the students would play. So kind of gamifying the curriculum a little bit, again, thinking about that motivation and creating those inroads to this curriculum. They sort of laid out the project in several different steps. So there's different steps to building the project and then different steps to sort of understanding the game and playing the game and implementing the whole thing in the classroom. So they started out with a simple build. So most of the projects that we do are hands-on. They involve a combination of these different disciplines that our instructors bring to the table. Each student in the 9th and 10th grade classes, which is 220, is that right, somewhere around there? About that. So we should mention too that Fannie Hamer has this really amazing hyper-democratic way of rolling out curriculum in all of their classes. So every student across those grades was able to participate in this project. So let's see, started off with simple woodworking skills. Each student built one of these boxes here, yeah. And the boxes became like individual pixels for this whole machine. So each student was responsible for building a single pixel. So it's some very, very basic woodworking, and then if we
Just tell us to work.
yeah, good. There we go, perfect. Some very basic woodworking, and then moved into some basic electronics. So inside each one of these boxes is a small strip of LEDs, very small, low energy light bulbs, basically. And these LEDs were strung together with small connectors, and then tested. You can see sort of a diagram for the wiring here. And after each student put their box together, there was a testing phase that they went through, so figuring out if the box was working, doing a little bit of troubleshooting, so again, bringing in some of the problem solving and what we call it, grit and other things too. So they went through the problem solving stage for their individual boxes, and then each class, which is about 22 students, put together a column of boxes. So one stack, top to bottom, and then use that to play like a miniature version of the game. And the idea is that this column would illustrate functions in a very simple way. So it was a comparison, basically. So one box represents f of x, so f of x equals x, so y equals x. So stepping up kind of one at a time. And then the other box represents a different f of x. So if the other box was, say, y equals 2x, that color would step up 2 boxes at a time. And they would learn to recognize these differences in the 2 colors that were charting their way up the column, and then be able to identify the function that way. The boxes were then brought together and then strung together in 11 columns wide. We used that to animate these different functions, and so we plug in different functions, and instead of seeing just dots going up a column, they're seeing functions kind of move across the entire screen. So you'd see y equals x, which is a straight line, a slope of 1 that comes up across the entire screen that would move along, and then if the other function is y equals 2x, you'd see a line that has a slope that's twice as steep as the other one. So it was a way to help students start making the connections between those numbers in the function that they're seeing on the paper and what they would be seeing on a graph like this. So as they were building these, all the students received these function visualizer sketch papers. So they were able to design their own functions with a plot that is the same dimensions as the function visualizer back there. So they were able to draw straight lines across here, calculate the function, see what that looks like on a graph, and then those could then be inputted into the machine to illustrate them.
I am completely dazzled. This is unbelievable.
Oh, great.
That's amazing.
I mean, I'm speechless.
Right.
Can I go to high school again?
Sure.
Am I right? I mean,
Right,
they're learning carpentry, they're learning
the only
electronics.
school that's utilizing it or has done this, because the world needs to know about that.
This specific project is unique to our school.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Matt can speak more to it, but Beam Center does partner with other high schools, and they develop projects unique to the curriculum, and this is what Brett, Tim, and a team decided would work best for our group of students. And actually, we have a collaboration with them right now. We're doing quadratics for our end of the year unit, and each student team is making their own catapult that will shoot. What did we decide to shoot?
Modeling clay.
Modeling clay. That seems safe.
Yeah.
Modeling clay.
That's what
And
you want to give high school kids.
I feel like that will actually be okay. Modeling clay, and there's an app that will chart the modeling clay, and they can find the vertex and the equation for the problem.
And I will say, I was part of the team of our teachers from Fannie Lou who went to Beam Center. They have an amazing facility out in Red Hook. where we as educators were able to go there and spend professional development time really developing this in conjunction with the folks and professionals at Beam Center. So building prototypes and figuring out some coding to include in it as well, adding accelerometers to figure out the angle that the modeling clay is going to be launched. So they do such a fabulous job, not just working with the students, but engaging the teachers in meaningful professional development.
What is the Beam Center?
Amazing.
So that's our organization. We're in Red Hook, and
So
we do.
you don't work for the high school?
No,
You work
no.
for Beam Center?
Yeah,
Oh,
Beam
here.
Center. We're a partner of the high school. We work with 13 different schools around the city
It's a
now.
nonprofit organization.
We are, yeah.
Our teachers and administrators at our school in particular work very hard to get grants to be able to work with folks such as the Beam Center. Fannie Lou Freedom High School is really unique in that respect. Our students have so many different opportunities through the outside organizations that we do work with, and we're really fortunate to.
But you're not a government thing, you are.
No, we are not for profit. Yeah, we're out there hunting for funding, writing the grants, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you work for do you work with college?
Higher ed.
We haven't really partnered with too many colleges in terms of like producing programming like this. We have partnered with research institutions, and we're looking to do that a little bit more to beef up our data collection and really try to get to some of the meat that's behind this.
Do you plan to publish this work?
It's
Oh, you should, my God.
Yeah.
The world needs to know about
My
it.
only regret is that we had 4 students who were going to come with us today to speak to their experience,
Oh,
but
right.
the rain and
Yeah.
trains
Yeah.
prohibited that. But
Yeah, but we did. I mean, we
You
did
have
have some
the
of their
reflections.
reflections
Yeah.
here.
First,
You know, I'm a professional writer, and I would be delighted to work with you to get this published.
Oh,
Fabulous.
I'll
Yeah.
just volunteer.
No, we'd love to talk to you about it.
Sure.
And I also, you can speak to this as well, Beam Center doesn't just work with math and science. I know while we were there for the professional development, we were working with other teachers from other schools to start with, and we split up onto our own projects. And one of the groups was using a laser printer to cut out these amazing kind of shadow puppets to facilitate storytelling with their students. So the Beam Center does a great job of working with technology, but applying it to any subject matter you can possibly imagine.
Right, we're much more excited
that's-
doing like cross.
Don't get too big.
Yeah.
and we
This is
collaborated
what
with you
needs
guys
to-
last year for the science with the Bronx River.
Yeah.
It's
So math, science, English, social studies teachers. We collaborated with some Spanish teachers for the first time this year. It's across the board. Rarely do we do anything with an art teacher or a shop teacher.
Do you have a
or something
website?
like that.
but for all your students, do you have any IEP students? Because
yes.
I'm teaching in college.
I
because-
teach CTT class and also the L class, the English language learners. So I'm in an ICT classroom, collaborative teaching.
And one of the beautiful things about this project is a lot of those students who do have IEPs or do struggle with English as their second language, they excelled in this because it's something that was totally attainable, something that every single kid could get their hands on.
And
not
if you,
not just getting, physically building it, but applying that, which is awesome, but it really helped make meaningful connections in the math curriculum.
and something that's very sweet is that, all together, it's, graph paper or a graph, but if you look at the back, you'll see their names on each box, because each kid
wow.
made their own box and troubleshot it, and kids became experts at part of the process. So if it was wiring and they were really good at building a box, they were helping each other and there were stations. And it takes a lot of trust as a teacher to have power drills in your classroom when you have 28 kids. But if this is the result, it's great. And at the very end, we went to the library because that's where we could, that's where we could fit this. And the kids competed in a game. And they were in teams, and they had choices of what the function could be, and they had to rapidly identify it and then explain why they thought it was what it was. And the student who won in my block is a student who has not been very successful in the past. So it was very, very nice to see.
Yeah, I should mention that a lot of the schools that we work with are we work with the international high schools, part of the public school system, but to get into these schools, you have to have been in the country for less than 4 years, so they're 100% L's. Everybody's coming into there with generally limited to no English language skills when they get started in the school. So the sorts of projects that we do have offered them a way to hook into the curriculum and succeed in school where they might not be able to otherwise.
We'd love to keep the discussion going. Matt gave you some information about Beam Center on their website, but unfortunately our time is up. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.